Hey guys, welcome back to the Curly Reader. My name's Amanda, and today I'm going to be sharing with you 5 books that I've read recently. Okay, so let's just kind of get into it. These are going to be 5 books that I have read here within the past few weeks. This time around, most of my books are going to be romance books, but I do have one outlier, and so I will start with the outlier, and then I will share with you 4 contemporary romance books that I've read. So the one outlier I have to share with you this time around is Devolution by Max Brooks. This is a sci-fi story thriller, so like a sci-fi thriller, we'll say that, that is told in an epistolary style, specifically in a diary format, and it follows this community in California, I think California, somewhere out along the Pacific coast. This community that is kind of wanting to live off the grid a little bit, but with all of the modern technologies. So they don't want to be anywhere by the city, but they want to live in this kind of sustainable community. And so they get like weekly grocery deliveries out to them, and a couple of them will commute into the city, but other than that, they're pretty self-sustaining. And then Mount Rainier not erupts. There's the word I was looking for, erupts, and they are kind of isolated there. They're stuck because the lava flow has blocked off the roads and kind of trapped them in. However, unbeknownst to them, it has also trapped in a herd of Sasquatches, which is where this like whole story goes, you know? And so it was so good though. It is told, like I said, in diary format. And so I listened to the audiobook and Judy Greer narrates it, which was perfection, and specifically follows the diary of this lady, Kate, who was in the community, and then kind of just evolves and tells her point of view of what's going on and the Sasquatches that she encounters and kind of the feeling of being hunted by them. And it was a good time. I gave it 3 stars. I really enjoyed it. It wasn't anything that I will probably remember for a long period of time, but I really enjoyed it for what it was. And so, yeah, I would recommend checking it out. All right, and then moving on to the contemporary romance section of this video. So like I said, I have 4 to share with you. The first is Well Met by Jen DeLuca. This is a book that I've been wanting to check out for a while. It is one of Kelly from Cozy Reader Kelly's favorite books, and she raves about it an awful lot, and so I've been wanting to check it out. This follows Emily, I believe. I made notes of the people's names, but this follows Emily, who has moved in with her older sister so that she can help take care of her sister and her niece. Her sister was in a car accident, and so she takes her niece to sign up to participate in the Renaissance Fair. Her niece is in high school, and when she gets there, finds out that if her niece is going to participate, she has to have an adult participate with her. So Emily kind of gets forced into participating in this Renaissance Fair. Unfortunately, the kind of leader of the fair does not particularly give off fuzzy, warm feeling vibes towards Emily, and so she kind of has her walls built up against him right from the start, and there's a lot of conflict going on there, but it really follows Emily as she starts going to this Renaissance Fair and getting into character and all of that, and then the walls start coming down between her and the leader of the fair, Simon. This is a romance novel. It is open door, and it was a great time. I really, really enjoyed this one. The whole like vibe of the Renaissance Fair was very fun. There was definitely a love of literature that was expressed throughout this. Emily starts working at one of the bookstores in town, and so that was lovely. And just the whole vibe between Simon and Emily, I thought was fantastic. I really, really liked this one. The banter back and forth was great as well as the friend groups that were established within the Renaissance Fair, like gang. I really enjoyed that. So I would give this one a thumbs up. I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. And so, yeah. All right. Next, I want to talk about Thank You for Listening by Julia Whalen. This one I obviously listened to because it is written by one of my favorite narrators, Julia Whalen. She wrote this book and narrated it herself. You can tell when you're listening to it that she wrote it knowing she was going to be narrating it, because she wrote so many different voices, so many different accents. She has just the whole plethora. She has the Jersey and the Boston and the Irish and the Southern and the Italian and just all of it. And it was so much fun to listen to, and listen to her knowing it was her voicing everybody in this audiobook. She is just a magician with her voice. I don't know how she does it. But this book specifically follows Swanee, who was an actress, and then due to some events, we'll say, you find out in the book what happened, she kind of gets out of acting and becomes an audiobook narrator, and is very well known in the audiobook world. And so an author that she had narrated for in the past asks her to do this like one last project with a male narrator, and so she is going to be narrating this book with a male narrator who has a pseudonym, and they get emailing back and forth, and it's a romance. That's really what the gist of the book is. But this also follows Swanee and her relationship with her grandmother, who is in an assisted living facility and is suffering from dementia, and kind of follows her and her grandmother's relationship, and how Swanee is the primary caregiver for her grandmother, and so just like how she's dealing with that burden and taking that on. And it was fun. It was a fun book, minus the the dementia thing, not so fun. But her grandma and the ladies at the assisted living facility were a hoot. All of the characters in this book were just so much fun to listen to. Was it a little contrived at times? Sure, but I was here for it. I loved it. I loved the listening experience, like I said, specifically of this one. And so, yeah, I would highly recommend checking it out. All right, next I want to share with you On Rotation. This is by Shirlene Abobi. Sorry, I looked up how to pronounce her last name, but this is by Shirlene Abobi. And this follows Angela, who is a Ghanaian American woman who is in medical school, and she's just kind of has been doing everything her parents have been wanting her to do, including medical school, and just following along in the path that they had set forth for her. And then she kind of realizes that she needs to be doing for herself what is right for herself. She goes through like a series of unfortunate events, I guess, and some stuff happens. Her longtime boyfriend breaks up with her, and all this stuff happens like back to back to back. And then she runs into this guy like in a courtyard. She was like just sitting there, and he walks up and starts talking to her, and ends up that they have some mutual friends, and so she kind of starts getting to know this guy Ricky, and things go from there. This is one of those books that is very forgettable, unfortunately for me. I appreciated the cultural and the Ghanaian American, and there is a lot about the specifics of the culture and the family dynamic and those sorts of things. I really, really, really appreciated that. I thought that it was done really well, its own voices, and so I would expect nothing less. But for me, the romance and the actual plot of the book was quasi forgettable, and so this one got 3 stars for me, but it was still a fun time while I was reading it. And so yeah, if it sounds like something you might be interested in, I would suggest checking it out. All right, and then the last one that I want to share with you today is The DoOver by Sharon M. Peterson. This follows Percy, who is a plus-size girl who, in the opening pages of the book, gets dumped by her boyfriend on the radio. And it's not great because she works for her dad and her boyfriend is her boss. And then this all like happens and she is just kind of up the creek without a paddle. And so because of all of this kind of stuff imploding all at once, her and her best friend decide to make some New Year's resolutions, such as don't date, don't try to improve your work ethic, don't try to please your parents, you know, those sorts of New Year's resolutions. And so she does this, and then a couple days later runs into her new next door neighbor, who happens to be a very attractive young man with a daughter. And what could go wrong, right? This one I really enjoyed. I will say, however, the relationship between the mom and Percy was not great and not well fleshed out in the end, in my perspective. But all of that being said, I loved the humor in this book. Percy's grandma, Mimi, was perfection. She was sarcastic, she was witty. Each chapter started with a Mimiism, and so it was these little quotes that Mimi would say, and she was just, you know, Percy's support group and had her back and was so witty and so funny and called Percy's mom and dad out on all sorts of stuff, and it was just fantastic. I loved it. But I also really enjoyed this book because it explored Percy and just kind of that feeling when you're in your 20s and life just decides to crap all over you, and what are you gonna do? Like, what are you gonna do with your life? Starting to make your own decisions for your own life, kind of like on a rotation, but different. And learning to come into your own. I loved Percy's best friend, Matthias, was also amazing. I really loved how supportive they were of each other, how they had each other's back. It was just so good. I really, really like this one. This is one that I had gotten from NetGalley, but it is already out, and so I would highly suggest checking this one out if you have access to it. So yeah, that one got, I think, 4 stars for me. So anyway, those are 5 books that I've read recently. If you have read any of these or have opinions or thoughts about any of them, I would love to hear those down below in the comment section. Also, let me know some books that you've been reading recently, and yeah, that's going to do it for today. So I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that you stick around and subscribe, and until next time, see ya!